The Great Inversion, How Descartes Broke the Human Compiler. For 4 centuries the West has bowed before a single sentence, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. It is treated as the foundation of modern philosophy, the bedrock of certainty in a world of doubt. It is also a lie, not a small lie, a foundational lie, an inversion of reality that has poisoned epistemology, psychology, and politics ever since. And it was not an accident, it was a weapon. Descartes wanted to find something that could not be doubted. He imagined an evil demon deceiving his senses. He doubted the body, the world, even mathematics. And then he declared, "The one thing I cannot doubt is that I am thinking. Therefore I exist. Thought precedes being." This is the error. A gross, arrogant, adolescent error. You do not think first, you are first. Before the first thought there is a body. Lungs breathing, heart pumping, eyes closed in the womb. You are long before you think. Being precedes thought. Observation precedes reflection. The world presses on your senses before you ever form a sentence about it. Descartes inverted the chain. He placed the thinking self at the origin, severed from the body, severed from the world, severed from the senses. The I became a ghost in a machine. And from that ghost, all of modern philosophy descended into idealism, solipsism, and the endless crisis of representation. The chain is simple. You are born, your senses engage, you observe, you pattern match, you derive, you think. Thinking is not the source of being, it is a function of being, a late function, a secondary function. The body was there first, the world was there first. The mother was there first. You did not think yourself into existence. You were delivered. The broader philosophy as cognitive weapon Descartes did not stop at I think, therefore I am. He built an entire system on this inversion. Mind-body dualism. The separation of the thinking substance from the extended substance. The reduction of animals to machines. The elevation of reason above the senses. The dismissal of the body as a deceiver. This is not philosophy, this is a cognitive weapon. Consider dualism, the claim that mind and body are separate substances, interacting mysteriously through the pineal gland. This is not derived from observation, it is invented to rescue the soul from the mechanical universe. Descartes wanted God, immortality, and free will. He could not find them in the body, so he invented a second substance, invisible, unextended, unobservable, and placed the soul there. That is not science. That is theology with footnotes. The damage of dualism has been catastrophic. It legitimized the abuse of animals. It devalued the body as a mere machine. It severed emotion from reason, instinct from intelligence, the gut from the brain. It produced a culture that worships abstraction and despises the flesh. Every tech bro who dreams of uploading his consciousness to the cloud is a child of Descartes. Every philosopher who doubts the existence of the external world is a grandchild. Every person who hates their own body inherited the weapon. Then there is the elevation of reason above the senses. Descartes declared the senses unreliable. They deceive, they distort. Only pure reason, detached from the body, can access truth. This is the opposite of what works. Nature gave you senses to navigate reality. They are not perfect. They have tolerances, but they are the only interface you have. To dismiss them as deceivers is to dismiss the only instrument of knowledge you will ever possess. What replaces the senses? Reason alone. Reason floating unanchored, terminating in nothing but itself. This is the origin of rationalism, the belief that truth can be derived from pure thought without observation. It is a fantasy. Thought without observation is just the mind playing with its own furniture. It can produce internally consistent systems. It cannot produce knowledge of the world. Descartes built a prison. The walls are made of doubt. The floor is made of abstraction. The ceiling is made of God. And he convinced generations that this prison is the only safe place. The body is outside. The world is outside. The senses are outside. Only the thinking self, locked in its cell, can be certain. That is not liberation. That is solitary confinement called philosophy. The inversion as ruthless power move. Why did this inverted philosophy succeed? Not because it was true, because it served power. A population that doubts its own senses is controllable. A population that believes reason alone can access truth will defer to those who claim to have reasoned correctly. That is not a republic of thinkers. That is a priesthood of intellectuals. Descartes gave the priest a new robe and called it rationality. The Church loved Descartes, not despite his dualism, because of it. He gave them a soul that science could not touch. The body could be mechanical, subject to laws studied by Galileo and Newton. But the mind, the soul, the thinking substance, that belonged to God. Descartes did not challenge authority. He carved out a separate territory and handed it back. The state loved him too. A population that doubts its senses is easier to govern. A population that believes the body is a machine can be treated as a resource. A population that believes reason is the highest faculty will trust experts, credentials, and institutions over their own lived experience. Cartesianism is not a philosophy of liberation. It is a philosophy of epistemic surrender, dressed in the language of certainty. You see the weapon everywhere today. Your perception is unreliable. You need an expert to interpret reality for you. Your senses are deceived by illusions. Trust the science, not your eyes. These are not neutral claims. They are Descartes' legacy, and they serve the same function they always have, to separate you from your own authority and hand it to someone else. There is a counter to this weapon. It begins with a simple act. You place your hand on a table. You feel the wood. You do not doubt it. You do not need to prove it. It is there. That is the foundation. Not thought, not doubt. Presence, the body, the world, the senses. From there you observe. From there you derive. From there you build. No ghost, no prison, no solitary confinement. The correction. The correction is not difficult. You are first. Then you observe, then you think. That is the order, that is the chain. Anything else is a castle built in the air. The body is not a deceiver, it is your anchor. The senses are not unreliable, they have tolerances. Learn the tolerances. Do not discard the instrument because it is not perfect. The world is not a dream. It is the territory. The map is not the territory, but the map is useless without the ground. Descartes built his castle. 4 centuries later, the air is still empty, and the ground is still waiting. Step off the ghost. Touch the ground. You are. Then think. That is the only foundation that holds. Everything else is a weapon aimed at your own perception. Do not let them fire it.